So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and thank you for the wonderful introduction. I want to pass it before we continue. Let me introduce myself. My name is Vladimir Yordanov. I'm Senior Director of Solution Engineering for Gigamon. Have been in Asia for a very long time. Originally, I'm Bulgarian, but I've been in Asia longer than I have lived in Bulgaria, my country of birth. And over the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to have the wonderful topic of cloud, deep observability, and how Gigamon can help you achieve these objectives in today's AI era. But before we continue, I want to pass it to Chirag, who leads our Gigamon operation in India, to introduce Gigamon India and all of the wonderful people that we have there. Okay, Chirag, over to you.
Thank you, Vlad. Thanks. So thank you everyone for joining. Thanks, Vikas, for arranging this nice session. I think it's going to be a lot of learning for all of us in terms of what Vlad is going to talk, and a nice message from our side, what we are doing in India and globally as Gigamon, as an organization. So thank you to all for joining on a working day morning in India. So let me introduce the team quickly, and then I'll pass it on to Vlad and a little bit about what we are doing in India. So we have Vlad, who's going to present for the next 45 minutes, Senior Director, Solution Engineering based out of Singapore office. We have Gina, who's heading our marketing for Asia Pacific, again, based out of Singapore. Gina, if you can just say hi.
Hi, everybody.
And we have
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good. We have Sudev, again, part of marketing based out of Chennai office in India, and part of Gina's team. And we have also got Prakash, who heads the India technical business, again, reporting to Vlad. So a quick one, I manage the country business as sales, and we have been doing a good about in terms of in India as far as the market goes. We all know India, the way we are moving into digital transformation, into a lot of application-driven projects, into, of course, a lot of things happening on cybersecurity and cloud. So as Gigamon, we are primarily a deep observability pipeline solution player in the market. And we have established ourselves globally from the last 20 years or more than 20 years. But in India, we play a very big role as a second headquarter in India after Santa Clara in California. So we have our largest employee base here in Chennai, where we have got more than 400 people sitting, including a lot of functional teams sitting here like HR, finance, marketing, things like that. So we have established ourselves a lot in India, which gives a lot of confidence to the India customers, India and the SAARC countries, that anything to do with the R&D in terms of the support, in terms of any new feature request, anything to be done, we are blessed with it as size of the organization, what we are. We don't see many of them in India if we compare to our peers or anybody. So Vlad, can you go back to the slide, please?
Sorry. My apologies. Yes.
No problem. Yeah. So as you see, Vlad is going to talk about a lot of things on deep observability, on AI and Gigamon Insights and what we do. But we have split for India market as such. We have solution areas we want to focus, of course, as per the vertical. On the right-hand side, if you see, we have banking and finance, telecom, public sector, insurance, being a large geography. And we have got a lot of solutions to offer on the SSL, cloud visibility, metadata, and things like that, which is again related to vertical specific, and we can align. So rather than taking more time now, I move to Vlad to talk about what we exactly do, and any questions then we can address, and of course, meet face to face as and when required. Yeah, over to you, Vlad. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chirag, for the wonderful introduction. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. So before we continue, I just want to share with you couple of insights from India growth. And India is a fascinating market. It is the world's fastest growing digital economy. As you could see from the numbers here, over 100 million 5G subscribers, in e-commerce 200 billion, and internet users like over close to 1 billion internet users. It's one of the biggest fintech markets in the world, and it's one of the biggest IT exports in the world as well. And the specific growth in cloud and internet is equally fascinating and impressive. Cloud market is projected to grow to 76 billion by 2030, and this is 26.5% annual growth rate. This is probably one of the top ones in the world. It's growing faster than any other market. And when you look at the internet and data growth, already mentioned that close to 1 billion internet users nowadays. Data center capacity over 1,500 megawatts, which is equally fascinating. One of the #1 global mobile data consumptions in the world. And the cloud in this year, in 2026, is projected to be about 8% of India's GDP. So this is why it is important when we discuss this topic, how to secure this infrastructure and how to make sure that it's future-proofed. And this is how Gigamon helps to achieve that. We can help protect digital payment. Gigamon also helps secure internet users. One of our biggest benefits to customers and one of our largest use cases is the core of our operations on eliminating blind spots, not just in 5G, but across the entire infrastructure, whether it's cloud, on premises, containers, data centers, and so on and so forth. We're one of the key pillars in safeguarding IT industry. And of course, last but not least, meet compliances. And I do have a couple of examples how to achieve that. So a couple of years back, Gigamon introduced the concept of deep observability. And what is deep observability in a nutshell? And it's the delivery of network telemetry to security and observability tools so that they can do their job. They can detect threats, resolve performance issues, point you to the application issues, and overall optimize business. All of the tools, whether they're security, or whether they're observability tools, or network performance, or cloud monitoring tools, they are as good as the data source that they're using. So if the data source is not accurate, or if the data source has some gaps, the information that will be displayed to the businesses will not be accurate as well. And I'm going to give an example, exactly the same data, where traditionally data was coming from additional sources, and then the same customer decided to use Gigamon as a main data source. The information was exactly the same. The difference was in timing. Previously, without Gigamon, for that particular customer would have taken them between 5 to 10 minutes to detect any issues, any alerts within the network. With Gigamon, that happened instantaneously. Now, one may wonder, is 5 or 10 minutes such a big difference? And the answer is yes, it is. Imagine if you run emergency services, for example, or you need to act quickly to defend yourself against an attack. Seconds matter, and in that particular case, because of the delay of key information, which was later delayed further when it was conveyed to the emergency services, life were at risk and life were lost. So just a couple of minutes delay of information or sending the wrong information can have devastating consequences for businesses. It is important to remember that when we talk about deep observability and overall visibility across the infrastructure, it's a journey. Although we all want to be at AI-powered deep observability, however, we have to pace ourselves. Most of the customers that we work with are somewhere in the middle, maybe just breaching the parameter or the depth of network visibility. And then Gigamon can help lead customers across the entire journey. At the end of the day, the end goal is to have an overarching, unified data source, deep observability that can feed all of your tools and can help you run your business. And here's how we do that. it all starts with the data sources, whether it's going to be a physical data center, whether it's going to be a public cloud, private cloud containers, or in nowadays AI workloads. We do four things. One of the first things we do is help organizations acquire the traffic across any environment, across any data source, across any infrastructure. Next thing what we do, we transform it. We process the traffic. We can, if it's encrypted, we can actually decrypt it so the tools can read it. If there's too many duplicate packets, we can remove the duplications. We can remove certain parts that customers don't want to inspect and so on and so forth. There's a lot of things that we can do in a transformation. The next thing what we do is like we enrich it. One of the things what we do, we process it. We add additional information, additional context if it's needed. We can recognize more than 4,000 applications and work with more than 6,000 attributes within the network. And last but not least, we deliver it to the tools, whether it's going to be security tools, network detection tools, performance, or application monitoring tools. Next, we integrate with AI. AI is the talk of the town nowadays, and naturally, we're also part of these solutions. As a matter of fact, Gigamon has been working on our AI journey for the last 3 years or so. We recognized all of the major engines. We have our own AI that help organizations and businesses to manage Gigamon infrastructure. Make it easier to configure, use, optimize, and last but not least, we have our own analytical solution that help organizations analyze their data and see immediately what is the status of their network, either from security, application, compliance, the possibility enormous. We call it Gigamon Insight. And last but not least, everything is displayed on the visibility layer, whether it's going to be your SIEM solutions, NDR, XDR, any kind of observability platform, cloud-native security tools, or even forensic tools. And some of Gigamon, one of the main benefits of Gigamon is the ROI is pretty much instantaneous. We reduce more than 90% of the traffic, even more in some extent, which means that we increase the tool's efficiency, cost reductions, and typically ROI is within 6 months to 12 months. Most of the customers that I have talked nowadays, they all have issues with tools over subscriptions. Recently, we've been talking to a customer that have spent millions of dollars for their network performance and application performance monitoring system. So they spent close to $10 million, I believe. And in reality, the solution that the particular vendor deliver could capture only half of the traffic that they have to monitor. For the other half, they have to pay another $10 million. So they naturally approach Gigamon, and Gigamon help to bridge that visibility gap on a traffic level for the very, very cost-efficient solution. So in a sense, what we can do, we can make generic visibility observability platforms such as Elastic or Datadog or Dynatrace display specific information about security, network performance, or application performance. And of course, please stay tuned. I'm going to show you later on exactly how these things happen. So how do we do that? As I mentioned earlier, we work with any workload, any platform, any cloud, any operating system, any infrastructure. And we generally do two things. We either send packets to the so-called packet tools, or we send enriched metadata to the data tools. And each of them, they have their own purpose. Packet tools, generally, they take the data as it is and process it themselves. The AI and data tools, they rely on Gigamon to provide the network metadata, telemetry, and intelligence so that they can display it. And here's exactly how it's happened. As you can see, this is a simple representation of enterprise infrastructure. Under the first level, when you look just as a classic network log, you get maybe 5 things: source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port, and then what type of protocol is. Then comes NetFlow. NetFlow is a protocol that was introduced by Cisco and quickly became a standard, and it gives you additional depth, additional context of the network traffic, such as start time, bytes, and a couple of other things. And what we're really looking for, we're looking for end-to-end visibility across from source to the destination, where Gigamon can generate the metadata based on this traffic, can provide all depth of information, including the protocol telemetry, the encryption level, what kind of application it is, MAC address, source address, who is it talking to whom, and the possibilities are endless. We had a customer, again, another example that I want to bring to everybody's attention was a service provider. And the service provider, they had some issues with fraudulent activities. And it was a very specific case. What happened is that they discovered that if somebody buys one of their prepaid cards and activate it overseas, there was a specific way to activate it. But if the malicious actor followed the steps and activate that card overseas, it bypassed the system control settings so that particular SIM would be used forever. There was no time limit. So basically what you do is you get data pretty much for life. Now, they knew that this thing is happening somehow, but they couldn't detect it. They couldn't say which one were the fraudulent cards, right? Now comes Gigamon. We actually managed to identify the specific parameters within the network flow on a 5G traffic, user plane traffic, that help the customers to identify and block all of the fraudulent transactions. That is an actual solution that is currently being deployed and is being used. And this is just one of the examples of how network-derived metadata intelligence help organizations solve problems that traditional systems would miss. So how AI and Gigamon AI Insight fits into this picture? So as I mentioned earlier, on one end, we have the endpoints, the hosts, and traditionally the data that comes out of these devices, we call it MELT. It is metrics, events, log, traces, and it's one of the data feeds that go into observability and security tools. What Gigamon does, we capture the actual network. We process it, as I mentioned earlier, and then we send the metadata out to the observability tools. Of course, we can integrate the traffic from other devices, IoT devices, third-party systems, so anything that today's organizations need to secure, but don't have control over it. A perfect example would be transactions within the banking systems. Banks are responsible, financial organizations, they're responsible for securing the transaction end-to-end. However, they have no control what the users may or may not have on their endpoint devices. And one way to do that is through solutions like Gigamon to capture the traffic from that particular endpoint device and inspect it and decide it whether this traffic is secure or not. The same thing applies to partners, third-party solution providers, anyone that need to interact with your system, but they don't have, but you cannot control their devices. And of course, what we can do is that we can send this data to LLM, and then afterwards, through a prompt or through devices, we can analyze it. One of the benefits of this setups is that for the first time in I say packet broker history, you have organizations have the capabilities to integrate traditional data sources, syslogs, with network packets. One of the use cases that is actually quite popular nowadays is that, for example, we have a firewall that you have configured to protect the next generation firewall that is defending you against modern threats. But it's very difficult to say how effective that firewall is, right? Because even we know that we trust our security advisors and everyone and our cybersecurity teams. We know that the new threats and hackers are getting more clever. They also can use AI tools. Bottom line is my firewall effective to protect me against modern threats? So that is a valid question. The other question is that, okay, in the context of the traffic that traverse my network, can these policies protect me against potential threats? Can they identify the gaps? Can they really deliver the security that will give me peace of mind? With Gigamon Insight solution, you can get the data from your network, also your firewall policies or firewall logs, and then Gigamon Insight will analyze both and will say, yes, your firewall's policy is sufficient, or no, you do have specific gaps that you need to address. And the main point here is that this kind of level of analytics, this kind of level of visibility is up to now was unprecedented, because this is the first time where you can correlate and analyze both ends of the spectrum. Everything that is happening on your end devices and everything that is happening into your network, you can analyze it. You can analyze it for security. You can analyze it for application performance. You can analyze it for compliance. The possibility are endless. One of the examples that we have is that we had a customer that had performance issues, and you could go into Gigamon Insight prompt and then ask, okay, give me hop by hop analysis. Show me where all of the bottlenecks are. Who are the biggest talkers? You know, where are my bottlenecks? And immediately you can see it. Okay. Now let's look into a couple of examples. So I talked earlier of the benefits of metadata and then compliance. So this is how through integration of Splunk, or could be Elastic as well, or could be any tool, but in that particular case, we have Splunk, how organizations can monitor their networks for PCI compliance. So one of the first thing what we can do is that we can observe certificates in use. So whether you have, so for example, what is the TLR version, what kind of web traffic you have, whether you have big ciphers, and what are the key exchange protocols that you have, right? You can detect whether it's whether using any outdated and weak cryptography, what kind of keys, ephemeral or static keys, and of course, last but not least, you can set alerts and you can actually monitor for any suspicious activities in relation to compliance or anything that comes out of cryptology that shouldn't happen. You also could monitor for weak protocols. You also could monitor for source and destinations or applications that are not allowed into your network, and then so on and so forth. As you could see here, certificates expired. So why this is important to monitor expirations of the certificates? Now, if your certificate expire, what really happen is basically either the tool stop working or the encryption doesn't happen anymore. And this in turn generate a huge security and overall compliance gaps. And this is just one of the examples. These PCI requirements could be against Indian financial regulatory authorities. If you're in the financial industry, if you're in the health industry, or any other that have a specific regulatory requirements, we can display the information and also can help you to monitor your internal SLAs. We have a customer that they were delivering traffic. They were kind of like a data brokerage system that was taking information from one place and delivering it to another on behalf of a third party. And they had some very strict SLA they had to meet. And through Gigamon, they were capable to monitor the transaction from the moment it entered their system and the moment it exited their system, to prove to their customers that they maintain the agreed SLAs. And if something goes wrong, they can go immediately and troubleshoot it. Right. Another example here is how we can use Gigamon metadata to measure data security. In that particular case, is healthcare, but it could be any other application. So, for example, we can monitor network activity across branch, data center, cloud, OT, IoT. One thing specifics about the healthcare industry, that there's a lot of OT devices. So don't think about specifically about healthcare, but think generally how to monitor a large system with IoT and OT devices that need to monitor. Of course, you can see the protocol that you're using. You can investigate access from unknown locations. You can verify the encryption levels. You can ensure that certain users are removed from certain type of transactions, and it can demonstrate real-time monitoring. So, for example, when you see this here at point 6, you have the applications here, you have the source AP, you have destination AP. You can actually further drill down and see the next depth of devices. And again, you can monitor here whether this is allowed transactions or not. If it is not allowed, it will show you immediately. Another example is application security. Of course, everything what users do on our networks, every services that we offer, most of them are through applications, either external or internal. Therefore, it's extremely important to ensure that applications are secure. Now, traditionally, when you look about traditionally point solutions or parameter solutions, such as your firewalls or web application firewalls, they can provide the first level of defense. That is true, right? But one of the things that we do what this thing offer is to ensure that the behavior within the applications is secure. And it provides a level of visibility and level of security that parameter solutions they would have challenges detecting, simply because with Gigamon, we can monitor the transactions end to end. And also we can monitor the transactions within the network itself. So whether it's a broken access control, cryptographic failure, misconfigurations, APIs, anything that has to do with application security. Also, another thing we could monitor as well is level of security, such as port spoofing, whether somebody is using legitimate transactions or legitimate ports to conduct malicious activities, whether somebody is extracting data. This is another example that we could show. And when it comes to data extraction, there are multiple parameters that we can monitor. We can monitor peer-to-peer communication, shadow AT, anything within your network. And since we have thousands of parameters that we can monitor, the possibility endless. One of the solutions that we're currently working on is financial fraud. So a lot of organizations nowadays, they're using third-party financial fraud systems. And the traditional integration point is to the APIs. However, one of the points with the APIs is first you have to code them, right? Then you have to make sure that the APIs are secure. And if something happened to your core architecture, you have to update the APIs, and then your partner also need to update them. So bottom line is that while the APIs are very useful, they do have certain challenges. The best way is to monitor transactions on a network level and directly send it to the fraudulent system, to the fraud detection system, and then the fraud detection system will tell, yes, this is a legitimate transaction. No, this is suspicious transactions, or block this transaction outright. This is another way of another example of how Gigamon simplified operations and make everything easier for customers today. Of course, everybody's concerned with tools. So most of the customers I mentioned earlier that I've been talking today, they have issues with tools oversubscriptions. As the traffic continued to grow, you saw the slide earlier, how fast the internet traffic is growing, how fast the cloud is growing. Now the AI is growing as well. Now we have we have so many different sources of information and services that go over the network, and the traffic growth has dramatically exceeded the capacity of our tools. And every time when we have to update our tool infrastructure, whether it's going to be for security, whether it's going to be for monitoring of applications, or any other functions that we need to perform to manage and run our business, this is additional cost. While our budgets yearly or they follow certain plans, users' behavior and subscribers' behavior don't follow any plans. Today, you may have 1 terabyte of data. Tomorrow, your users decided to do something else, and all of a sudden, you have like 20 terabyte of data. Those changes happens way too quickly for our infrastructure to be able to react. Fortunately, Gigamon actually can help you bridge these gaps. So what we can do, we actually have actual case studies, by the way, they're all public case studies, where we have helped customers reduce their tool cost. Typically, we reduce the cost with up to 50% or more. Our ROI is under 12 months. And we have the case studies to prove it. I just shared with you one of the case studies with a customer that they had a major issue with their current network performance monitoring provider that they couldn't scale with the traffic, and Gigamon helped them bridge that. We have another case, was a bank in this part of the world, in Asia, where the regulators asked them, you have to monitor your entire traffic. Now, the thing about the regulators is that they can impose requirements, but they don't really care so much how the organizations will comply. You just have to comply. And that particular customer, they had about 20 terabyte of traffic that they have to monitor. Now, 20 terabyte, it's not very practical to monitor. But with Gigamon, what we managed to do is that we managed to reduce from 20 terabyte, we reduce it to about 20 gigabyte. So more than 10 times fold traffic reduction, so that they can perform the monitoring, the inspections, and achieve compliance. So there's several ways to do that. One of the first thing we do is that we map the traffic. And that is one of the fundamentals functions of what Gigamon does. We have the source, we have the destinations, and we basically configure, we send the right traffic to the right source. Another thing what we do is that we deduplicate. We remove all of the traffic that is it is basically duplicated on the network, and you would be surprised the level of the duplication. Sometimes just enabling the duplication can reduce the traffic by more than 60 to 70%. We can remove some of the payloads if you, depending on what you're expecting and how your inspection works and what you need to do. We actually could remove the payload. And of course, filtering, decryption, flow sampling is another one. At the end of the day, the traffic can be reduced as much as 90%. So this is another example. Gigamon with or without, they say was a customer. They were deploying their network detection response solution into the cloud. So without Gigamon, the monthly cost would have been $117,000. With Gigamon, that cost was reduced to $17,000. So almost tenfold. And analyst agrees. So this is an example from Gartner. Now, Gartner is basically tracking now visibility market. Gartner visibility is on the Gartner radar. They're tracking it. They work with Gigamon and with all of the, pretty much with everyone that is in that space. And of course, Gigamon, actually, we have more than, I believe, more than 52% market share, 50 to 60% market share. But the point here is that visibility importance continue to increase. Deep visibility and deep observability as a technology and the solutions, its importance continue to grow. And will continue to grow with the advancement of AI and with AI proliferation into our days' lives. Well, yeah, we have 61% market share. This is the report. We're the biggest one in the market, and you can see our closest competitors. And of course, the cloud runs on Gigamon. This is a testament to one of our customers. And in the end, coming to the end of my presentations, I want to share with you, there are actually 3 things that I would like you to remember from today's talk before we go into Q&A. So AI is driving explosive network growth. We started, when I started Gigamon about 6 years ago, like the biggest link that we had, we supported was 100 gig. Right now, we're talking about 800 gig per second links. Our 400 links ingestions actually is quite normal today. And network is becoming mission critical again. Everything runs on network. If the network is down, nothing works. If you remember what happened to Optus a couple of years back, where they had a cascading failure of their network and the telecommunication network in Australia, Optus telecommunication network in Australia was shut down for I think that almost 24 hours. But this is an example. This is very unfortunate by all means. And it's like no disrespect to Optus. They spent a lot of time trying to fix it, and actually now they're a lot better. But this is an example how important is networks and telecommunications to our lives today. Without this kind of communication, simply we cannot operate. Cloud and AI in generally, they introduce a new security and visibility risk. One thing what we have to remember, to keep constantly in mind, that AI is, when it comes to security, is closing the skills gap. Just the way our cybersecurity researchers, our cybersecurity teams can use AI to provide defenses against attacks, the same thing applies to the hackers and to the bad guys as well. They also have their own tools. They also have their own AI engines to execute attacks. And you don't have to be a super smart to be able to do that. And even if you don't want to do that, you can hire somebody to do that. So bottom line, the technology is closing the skill gap. And unfortunately, we have to be right all the time when it comes to cyber defenses. Hackers and bad guys, they need to be right only once. And of course, Gigamon, one of the things what Gigamon can help is that we monitor all of the AI engines. And with Gigamon, we will be able to monitor for all of the unapproved or traffic, AI traffic that is not allowed into your network. Last but not least, the overall telemetry volume is surging. Log volumes are getting extraordinarily large. It is impossible. And it's like if you just have to capture a couple of seconds of traffic, that is actually gigabytes and terabytes. Imagine if you have to maintain the flow from the entire transaction. This is impossible. And this is where network-derived metadata comes to save the day, where we can capture and save only the important and the relevant information that is required. That helps organizations to maintain security posture, to maintain operational efficiency, compliance, manage cost at the fraction of what we have constant to maintain and to store then the transaction in terms of logs, metrics, and signals. And in that particular area, Gigamon AI Insight-powered solution is well positioned to produce the analytic based on this information. And I think that that's on that note, I would like to stop. I think that we are okay on time, right?